We're going to allow you guys to join us for the first couple minutes, and we're super excited. So this is our first of 5 nutrition webinars, and we're really excited that you're here. I want to do a quick introduction for those of you that don't know me. I'm Schatzle, and this is Heather.
Hi.
And Heather, why don't you give everybody your credentials?
So I'm a registered dietitian, nutrition therapist, and I specialize in body image, issues with food, the psychology of eating. I've been a dietitian for 23 years, and I'm really happy to be here.
She's the best. You have 4 kids.
I have 4 kids.
Ranging from?
18 and 16, 10, and what we say 5 and 11, 12, because he will be 6 in 3 weeks.
So this woman knows her stuff. She's been through it all. Well, we're really excited you're here. And it's Heather and I for the 5 weeks. And today what we're going to talk about with you guys is we're going to talk about macronutrients, dieting, and starvation principle. So we want to give you a quick background on why we're doing these live webinars. So to be honest, we are going a little bit against the grain. We are really trying to get people to live from a non-diet perspective. And I'm going to be honest, a year ago, I stopped dieting and it changed my entire life. I have a little bit of a personal story. I have somebody very close to me that at a young age developed an eating disorder. And for me, it really woke me up. And it was around the time that I had to reflect on my own eating patterns and, to be honest, my family dynamic and my life dynamic around food. And what I realized was I've been in this industry for 17 years. I'm a personal trainer. I own, the Schatzle program, which is a crazy awesome fitness program. And I did everything I was supposed to do in the fitness world. I weighed people in, I took their measurements. And what I found was people lost weight, but they didn't necessarily keep it off, or even when they lost the weight, they weren't happy. And to be honest, that was also me. So what I realized was I was living in this really toxic diet cycle, and that it started with, it was a lot of my family dynamic. My entire family, we bonded over food. We were constantly either on a diet or cheating on our diet. Everything was labeled either healthy or unhealthy. I just felt like I was in this constant cycle of either trying to eat clean or binging, and always working towards a goal weight or an ideal body weight, that I actually came to the conclusion I was so obsessed with looking a certain way that even when I looked that way, I didn't realize it. And I really believe that this is a lot of people in this world, because not only, for me did it start in my family dynamic, but it's what society has now made basically okay. And this is how we talk about it with our friends, we're reading articles, we're obsessing, and then we're teaching it to our children, which was really, obviously, those of you that don't know, I'm 7 months pregnant with twin girls. And this actually started for me before I got pregnant, but I can't imagine better timing in my life, because I do not want to pass on my own body issues or my toxic food issues, to be honest, to my children. So in order to change the dynamic of my family, it has to start with me. And this is kind of where it all started, but this is the message that we are now hoping to spread, that you don't just need to change your body, you need to change your life. And that happens when we get off this toxic cycle of dieting. So one thing we want to address is that this is a really open format. If you guys have any questions, people that are linked into our webinar, we're going to do a couple polls, and we're going to also ask that Facebook, you get to answer the poll questions just right on Facebook. So what you can expect in the next 5 weeks is every Tuesday we're going to come live 7 to 8 p.m. Tonight we're going to talk about macronutrients, dieting, and starvation principle. Next week we're going to talk about voices in our head. Week 3 we're going to talk about overeating. Then we're going to talk about body image, and our last webinar will be living from a non-diet perspective. So what we ask is that you have an open mind, and let's have some fun with this. So a couple things we want to start off the bat. Can we go to the poll question? Okay, now, poll questions. You guys, just be open and honest. And we'd like to ask these also so you can kind of reflect on your own patterns. But our first poll question is, have you ever been on a diet? Answer just yes or no. We're gonna give you about 20 seconds to answer that one. And comment, thank you. Facebook, comment yes or no, just write in the comments. And on Instagram, oh, we're on Instagram live too. Instagram, hi. Comment yes, no, have you ever been on a diet? We're gonna actually get a percentage here. We have our tech guy getting the numbers. All right, awesome. So 92% of you said, yes, you have been on a diet. Here's what we want to address really quick. Let's do some myths.
Yeah, so I get a lot of questions everywhere I go. If I'm at the grocery store and people say, oh, you're a dietitian, so you should tell me this or answer this question for me. So I like to spend a little bit of time on some of the questions I get really frequently, and now one that I get a lot is about gluten. And should people be eating gluten-free? And as dietitians, we have said all along, unless you have a diagnosis of celiac disease or you had the blood test that shows that you are in fact allergic to gluten and gluten, you shouldn't have it, then by all means you should be restricting it. If you have not had an actual medical test that proves that you are, then I advise you to not eat gluten-free. And the reason why I say this is because if you look at the products, the breads, the crackers, all of the products now that people are eating that used to be regular variety and now that they're making them gluten-free, they're higher in sugar and higher in salt. And those are actually two things that the American diet is too high in anyway. And so when they're using a different type of flour, they're trying to make it taste the same and taste palatable to people. So they're having to add in other ingredients that make the product overall not as healthy. And so I say if you are not diagnosed with a gluten allergy, then you're better off buying a whole grain variety of any of the products that you would eat. And so the food industry has responded just like it responds with everything else. When people were afraid of fat, they pulled the fat out of cookies and made fat-free cookies.
Snackless.
Yeah, higher in sugar and salt. And it's been about a year or so the food industry has responded to people wanting to eat gluten-free. And so now they've made all of the products that you would normally eat, they've made them all gluten-free, only they're actually higher in salt and sugar. So,
and if we think about this, a lot of the diet industry, this is how it started, just like you said, when it really, I remember when, you know, in my family, snack cookies were a big thing for me. And that's where I remember kind of the first evolution of dieting for me, because I just remember thinking, oh, it's low fat and I can eat more. Right. And our whole family was on a low fat, we just had low fat everything, but we didn't need to. Right. And it was actually, let's be honest, it was the market and big business, and it's what it sold, and that really spiked the whole dieting craze.
It did, because when they vilify an ingredient, so fat was vilified, and when they vilify an ingredient, they pulled it out and then added, again, salt and sugar, and people thought, oh, well, fat is the problem. If there's no fat in it, then I can eat as much as I want. And what actually happened is it was the job of fat, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, to send the signal to the brain that says I'm full. So they pulled out the one ingredient that said stop eating. So people could eat a box of cookies and not feel full because there was no fat in there to do its job to say stop eating, I'm full.
You know, we're going to go over a lot of this today, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that we are coming from a place where we want people to look at food with a different perspective. This is not a judgment. We know people who are vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, dairy-free. I have friends that are free of everything. And this is not a judgment. But what we're trying to do is get people to just change the relationship that you have with food and to actually take the power away from food and put it back where it belongs, which is with you. One thing that has really stuck with me is I had a friend who, she taught Sunday school, and there were 8-year-old kids, and she passed out goldfish as a snack. And one of the girls raised her hand and said, "Are these gluten-free goldfish?" And after class, my friend actually asked the mother if she had an allergy to gluten, and she said no, she didn't. But the little 8-year-old girl said, "You know, we're gluten-free in our house." So we're teaching our kids that this is how they're supposed to eat, when in reality, it's not.
Right.
And by labeling food, we're creating a different kind of mindset, and we're actually creating where people are having the food issues and the power struggle, because to be honest, as parents, we would never want to pass our own body issues and food issues on to our children.
Right, and I think this brings me really to the second myth that I wanted to address anyway, is about labeling food as healthy or unhealthy. And I meet with a lot of parents of children who are various ages, and those kids know way too much about food. And they shouldn't know about food. It's our responsibility to feed them well. It's their responsibility to figure out what they like and don't like, but often they're not given a choice because there's pressure on children to eat healthy. I hear this a lot: make a healthy choice, make a healthy choice, which means make a good choice. And for a child, they're not capable of doing that, and they shouldn't do it. It's too much responsibility for them. So my next myth is that food is not healthy or unhealthy. Bodies can be healthy or unhealthy, but food holds a certain nutritional value. And it has a varying value depending on the food. There are foods that have a high nutritional value and food that has a lower nutritional value. But food's not healthy or unhealthy. Bodies can be.
And with that being said, you know, this is where we do get a lot of pushback. So, oh, you're just telling me I can just let my kids eat whatever I want? I'm not supposed to eat healthy? By saying this, we're not giving people permission to overeat. We're not, and that's the other myth.
Or feed anybody, including yourself, all food of a low nutritional value. So what we're actually saying is it's our job as parents to feed our children well and to provide a variety of food. And know this, that children who grow up in a house where there is a variety of food available and they have freedom of food don't have food and body issues. It's the children that grow up in a house where food is restricted, where food is labeled good and bad, where food is limited based on nutritional value of the food, that will find a friend's house who has all of the food, or go in high school, go to college, and eat everything they weren't allowed to eat, and then subsequently develop food issues.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we're gonna ask poll question number 2. Yes, are we on that? So do you know what macronutrients are? And we just want you to be totally honest. Do you know what macronutrients are? So yes or no. Again, if you're on the webinar, answer our poll. Instagram, I hope you're still there. How you doing? Do you, yes or no, know what macronutrients are? And Facebook, answer in the comments. And we're gonna go over that. We're gonna give you just a couple minutes, or a couple seconds to answer that. All right, so on our poll, 83% of you said you do not know what macronutrients are. Awesome.
You're in the right place.
Thank you for being honest. We really appreciate that. And this is what this is all about. We want you to be honest and ask questions, and you can put your questions in the link below. But thank you so much. Awesome, let's hit it.
Great, so macronutrients. When people say macronutrients, we're talking about 3 categories of food that are essential to the body: grains, proteins, and fats. Those are your macronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals and things that are found in produce primarily. So let's talk about grains first, right? Carbs. People used to say carbs. You say grains now
Because it's nicer.
Friendlier. It doesn't hold on to that negativity of the carbs. And so a carb basically is just a chain of glucose bonds. So when you think of it, that's what it is. The body takes carbohydrate, breaks it down into glucose, the cells use the glucose for energy. So the purpose of a grain is to provide energy for the body. It's the primary source of energy for the body. Also, it provides a good source of fiber which is excellent and helps for nice gut health. So when people say grains, carbs, no, it's the preferred source of energy for the body. And we need a certain amount to just basically function. So the brain alone needs 130 grams of glucose a day to function. And that's why a lot of these really low carb diets, ketogenic diet, paleo, all of those.
Which we've all tried.
That are so low in carb, and we get foggy in the brain because the brain actually doesn't have the glucose that it needs to run, and the brain can only run on glucose. So there is an adaptation on some of these diets where they're trying to trick the brain into running on fatty acids, but it makes for a very foggy thinking. So brain alone needs 130 grams of glucose a day. Overall, for the body, when people talk about, well, what do I need? So you need from 225 to 325. And again, when we talk about grams that are necessary, it's a general guideline. So it isn't something to be plugged into an app or calculated or looking at all of the labels to say, well, how many grams does this have, where am I? It's a general guideline, just so you're sure that most people tend to restrict the amount and then they're under eating. And so I like to give a broad base so people know about how much they should eat.
And what we're going to continue is we're going to talk about macronutrients as a whole is carbohydrates or grains, like we just talked. And now we're going to go into proteins and fat and why you need all of them. Facebook, this is where we're going to leave you. And what we would love is let's keep this conversation going. I'm going to put a link right in the comments below. And so you can click on that link and let us know that you want to hear the rest of it and you want to keep going. People who are already logged into the webinar, please stay on. We're going to keep this going. Instagram Live. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's keep this conversation going.
Okay, so now the next macronutrient is protein. And when I ask people about their favorite macronutrient, most people say protein, right? Protein's a favorite. They think, oh, you must have get a lot of protein. Protein doesn't do anything bad. Well, actually, every single macronutrient is just as important as the other one. So protein isn't more important than grain. Grain is not more important than fat. They're all essential. So why do we eat protein? Well, I think most of us learned when elementary school, it was a long time ago for me, I would say, but we learned that protein is the building blocks of the body. And so we're all skeletal muscle repair, so the exercise that you're doing, the workouts that you're doing, and you're making little tears in your muscle, which you want to make stronger. You need the protein to repair your skeletal muscle, organs, tissue. We use about 1,000 cells a day of turnover constantly, and so we need protein to be replenishing those cells. And now you might be thinking, well, how much protein do I need? Generally, women don't need enough protein. They think that they're light on it. They'll have salads or things that don't have much protein, so it's generally surprising to women how much protein you need. But you need about 70 to 90 grams of protein a day for women, and 90 to 100. Again, rough guideline depending on age, body type, activity level, but those are good guidelines for protein.
And we want to, again, really stress that because, again, this is not a diet. It's not a macronutrient diet. So the first time we did this, we had a lot of people asking like, oh, I'm looking online for a macronutrient calculator and things like that. We're just giving you broad numbers to have a range, but it doesn't need to be a specific number. Okay, so moving on to
fats or lipids, depending on what you want to say, basically anything that's non-water soluble. So when we think about fats, I think now there's a lot of talk about fat and how it's important to have, and this is excellent because when fat was cut out, that's when the obesity epidemic really, really took off, because the one thing that fat does is say stop eating. And so the importance of fat is it also gives a source of energy, a more long-term energy, because it takes a longer time to digest and break down. It provides vitamin A, D, E, and K, which are necessary for overall good health. It's shiny hair, really nice looking skin. Also important is hormones and neurotransmitters require fat molecules. So on very, very low fat diets, you can see it in people's skin. They have kind of an ashy look, and you're actually not as happy because you don't have a little fat molecule to run the serotonin in, which makes us happy. It's a neurotransmitter that makes us happy. So fat, again, is essential. Now, when we talk about why these are important and how they're all just as important as the other one, it's because they each have specialized tasks. So we heard about what grains do and what protein does and what fat does, and you'll notice that none of them really does the same thing.
Yeah.
So in the absence of one, it's very difficult for another of the macros to go in and do the job of the one. So if you're cutting grains or carbs because you've heard that that's what you need to do to lose weight, then protein is actually going into the calorie pool to try to do the job of the grain, except it's not that good at it. And then there's nothing that can do the job of protein. So if you're using your protein to try to give you some energy and make your blood sugar stable, then you're not repairing your muscle tissue, you're not building your immune system, you're not making new cells, you're not repairing organs, you're not doing any of the jobs that protein is supposed to do. So grains are actually protein sparing because protein is not supposed to go into the energy pool of the body. Now, what if you are low on protein? Well, fat or grain can't do the job of protein, so that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't get done. You don't make new cells, you don't have tissue repair, it doesn't happen. And same thing if you're low on fat and don't have fat, well, you're not going to make hormones. You are not going to have the neurotransmitters be circulating in the body to make you happy. Your skin's not going to look as nice, your hair's not going to look as nice, and you're going to be missing those essential vitamins. So it's important when you're eating to have a macro at every single meal. So you need protein, you need fat, you need grain at every single meal.
And so the balance is, if at every meal you're getting a carb or a grain, a protein, and a fat, that ideally, and again, you're not setting you up for a diet or rules or restrictions, but from what I found and what you've told me is, when I'm balanced, I'm full for about 4 hours.
Right.
That's kind of how I know I've had a good, amount of everything. And it is also amazing when we start, our bodies will tell us what we want. I was telling Heather, and obviously I'm pregnant, so I'm very in tune with what my body needs, but there was a day where I literally, all I wanted was avocados and peanut butter, and it was a clear sign that I was craving fat. And obviously I'm building things. I'm building things. But when we really do listen to our bodies and not to the voice in our head, it changes things.
Right.
And our bodies will tell us what we need because it's asking for nutrients.
Exactly.
It's not asking for the junk food.
And the body doesn't ask for food that it doesn't need. And so I like people to trace back. If they have eaten a meal and they're hungry in a couple hours, I like to trace back, well, what did you just have? And think back, well, did it have enough of the macros? It's the sushi joke, right? You go out and you spend $100 on a sushi dinner, and an hour and a half later, you're ordering a pizza or you're in your freezer looking for something to eat, and that's because there's no fat in that meal. So good protein, fair grain, but no fat. And so the body will send a message saying, I need more. I'm still lacking in something. And so there isn't poking to eat if you have all of the macronutrients in the appropriate amounts at your meals. And you can track that. If you're not sure, track it back 4 hours. If your meals aren't lasting you 4 hours, then you have to see, am I eating enough? And am I eating enough of the macros?
So next time, so with the macros, here's a good just little tool. So just like Heather said, if you're poking to eat, we want you to think about, okay, maybe what was missing in that meal. Right. And that's going to lead us into, honestly, why diets don't work. Why, if we're on this high protein, low carb diet, why that doesn't work, or this the low fat diet. So let's go into a little bit of why diets don't work. And just so you know, I think it's 97% of diets fail. So if, you know, the starting on Monday and lasting till Thursday is pretty much everybody's deal when they're on a diet.
Right. The diet is never sustainable, and people will say a lot, if I only had the willpower, if I just had more willpower, then I could diet forever. And it's actually not an issue of willpower at all. So there's a few things. One is willpower is actually a finite resource in the body, so we don't have just an infinite amount of willpower to apply wherever you want to apply it. So if you're using your willpower to avoid eating certain foods, you're missing the purpose of willpower. Willpower is for important tasks in life. It's for getting you out of bed to attend something that is going to be really emotionally difficult for you. It's for getting you up and out to class every day that you don't want to attend. You have a bigger goal in life. That's what willpower is for. It's not for, I want a sandwich, but I'm going to eat a salad instead. So it has nothing to do with willpower. Diets don't work because they step on deprivation, and we are programmed against starving. So there's something called the scarcity principle, and that gets triggered when food is scarce. And so remember, obesity is about a 50 or so year issue. Starvation is thousands of years old. So our brain hasn't caught up with the fact that food is more readily available now. So we start to diet, we start to cut back on foods, and suddenly the brain is triggered to say, I'm deprived. And we can be deprived in two different ways. We can be deprived physiologically, which means we're cutting amounts of food, so our meals are too small, or we don't have, say, we're following a low-fat diet, so we might have lots of other foods which is not enough fat, and so the body will send signals to say, I'm hungry, start thinking about food all of the time. People have got, they're on Pinterest looking at recipes, they're watching the Food Network, the brain sends messages over and over and over to eat, which is why the diet breaks. So if you're deprived from a physiological standpoint, that just means you're missing the macros. You might have fat, maybe not enough. Maybe you just aren't eating enough of all three of them. So any deprivation that way triggers the scarcity principle, and then the brain is in hyper alert mode and sends messages to eat and eat and eat. The second part of why diets don't work is more psychological, and that is the deprivation of not eating something that we love. And again, it reads the same way in the brain of, I love pizza, I'm restricting pizza, guess what? I'm gonna be thinking about pizza, I'm gonna wanna go out to dinner with friends, they're gonna order pizza, I'm gonna order a salad, but I'm gonna be bitter the whole time because they're eating the pizza. So the brain will send messages over and over and over to overthrow the diet because we're programmed against any bit of deprivation.
And eventually, like you just said, it's gonna be overthrown. And the next thing you know, you're eating a large pizza by yourself.
Right.
At home, hiding, and this becomes this whole other story.
And so
yes.
When you sign on to diet, you actually sign on to overeat as well, because that's always the way the diet breaks. People don't diet and restrict and deprive themselves and then just ease back into an appropriate way of eating because of the brain feeling like the body is deprived. It overthrows the diet in a dramatic fashion, which always means overeating.
And this was the kind, personally, the cycle that I was constantly on. I was, oh my gosh, I'm so good. You know, I didn't eat the pizza or the sandwich. I had the salad. It was always a constant battle. It was an obsession. Food, to be honest, ruled my life. I was constantly thinking about what I was eating, if I was eating healthy, if I was cheating, if I was going to go out to dinner. With my friends, a lot of times, I couldn't even enjoy it because of the story that was created in my head of what I can and cannot eat. And I'm going to tell you guys that losing weight does not cure a negative body image, and losing weight also does not cure food issues.
No, they don't go away. The body size adapts because we're mammals, and so mammals adapt to whatever circumstances. So we undereat, the body adapts. We overeat, the body adapts. But the link with the brain that was established regarding how it feels about the body isn't connected to the actual size of the body, which is why when people can can diet themselves down to a very low weight, they don't have that sense of achievement and pride that lasts. It's a false sense of, I did it, but it doesn't last, and it doesn't translate to actually feeling good about the body.
And you know, one alarming thing was, I have somebody very close to me who's young, she's 17, and she asked me, you know, how are, after the babies come, and she was just being totally honest, but she asked, you know, now that you don't diet, because I have not dieted in a year, I've totally given it up, I have not gone back. And she said, now that you don't diet, how are you gonna lose the weight after the babies come? And this is where I think in society, it's a problem, because we think the only way we can lose weight is if we're on a diet. And basically, if we're not dieting, we must be gaining weight, or if we're not dieting, then we're not losing weight. And which actually, that is a myth.
Absolutely. And they find that the diet is actually less healthy than a sustained, balanced way of eating, regardless of weight. So the science behind it actually proves that the people who are on and off diets over time become less healthy than the people who have maintained themselves, even at perhaps a higher body mass index. But it's the cycle that is very traumatic to the body, to be starving and then having an excess of calories and back to starving. That roots as trauma to the body, and as life goes on, it becomes less tolerable for the body, and people are less and less healthy who are in the cycle.
And this is starting at a younger age.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, that is, I mean, it's to make us all aware, but also about what's happening, is that this is an epidemic.
Oh, kindergartners are dieting. I mean, study after study shows that kindergartnens are dieting because they hear all the diet talk in the house about food, about bodies, about what's healthy. And so when an awareness of the external body isn't supposed to happen until around age 12, it's happening 6 or 7 years earlier because of the constant dialogue in our society around weight and food and bodies.
So with these webinars, you guys, we want you to know that, I'm going to repeat this, this is in no way, shape, or form a judgment. What it is for me, to be honest, I had a wake-up call. And so now I want other people to have that. And I just want to really get people to start looking at the way that they talk about food, that they talk about the relationship they have with food, not only with themselves and in their own heads, but around their family, and the way that we talk about our bodies. Because ultimately we are who we say we are, and what we are talking about, people are listening to. So here's what I want to leave you with, some really good tips and tools for our first webinar, which are, let's focus on macronutrients. So each meal having a grain, a protein, and a fat. And more or less just paying attention to, does that keep me, am I full for 4 hours? And if you're not, and there's poking to eat, what's going on? Are you missing one of the macronutrients? Or, which we'll get into in the next couple weeks, is there something bigger than that, something emotional? A lot of us, we use food to deal with emotion.
Well, there's a difference between I'm hungry versus I want to eat.
Oh, we got homework. I love it. And which we're gonna tap onto that. So, we're gonna ask a quick poll question, our last one, because we'd love for you guys to write in your questions, and then also if you write in questions over the week, we will answer them. And is that up? Oh, please. So what we're gonna ask you, you can think about this really quick, is do you have an understanding of macronutrients? Does that make sense? Because if it doesn't, we wanna make sure that next week we clear that up for you. So you can answer yes or no. Do you have understanding of macronutrients? $76 of you.
Well done.
Yay, said yes. Awesome. Okay, so for anyone that answered no, or if you have any other questions, we're gonna ask that you write them in, and next week we will cover those questions. Homework, did you put that up? So we've got some tips and tools, and again, you guys, this is a journey. We are going to cover so much and so much ground that we ask that you keep an open mind and you keep coming back and you keep giving us your questions. So we're gonna try this week with the macronutrients, and then just, you know, adding some different foods into your diet. We're gonna try to create balance, variety, and find out what you actually like without restricting yourself.
Right, so if you are restricting anything based on something that you thought was helpful, if you heard that you should cut grains or cut fat, then take a look at that, and when you are adding them to your meal, make sure that you're having enough of that, and then see how you feel. Because the body has the ultimate vote. So people know if they're not eating enough of a certain macronutrient, they can feel it. And so you don't have to restrict it externally. The body will let you know how much of each that it wants.
Questions, let us know. Otherwise, oh, we're gonna put up the homework one more time, just so you guys can screenshot it, or we can even, there we go. So, there's your week 1 homework, and we're super excited that you guys were here. We appreciate you, and we'll be back next Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Please, please, please let us know your questions so we can answer them. Love you guys. Thank you so much.